Hello everyone! Welcome back to Anadialogue, the dialogue on analog music reproduction. In this episode, we're gonna face a very important and renowned issue regarding Japanese pressings and Western pressings. Are these differences so present? Is it a myth? Is it truth? Let's discover it together. Go! Okay guys, what is the question here? What is the issue? Now, for decades, the Japanese versions, the Japanese pressings of specific albums, as you know, Japan is crazy about hi-fi. They love audio. They love high quality, high fidelity audio, music. They love jazz. They love Western audio, rock, everything. They're just maniacs about it, and I love that. In fact, if you haven't seen my trip to Japan, an audiophile in Japan, check out from this link that video. Don't miss it. Okay, so turning back to our issue. What is the problem here? As I said, a lot of people have always claimed, at least in the past, that the Japanese pressings were superior to the Western versions. Okay, now a lot of people, though, are stating that the sound wave, the equalization, the mastering of the records, we're mainly talking about vinyl records, but I'm sure it regards also different types of media, are modified. Where? Mainly in the lower frequencies, the bass. That part is somehow reduced, contained. Why is that? Well, a lot of people think that due to the situation, the lifestyle of Japanese people, they live, most of them, in huge condominiums with very small apartments where you can't put your booming music, especially bass, especially lower notes, would disturb other people. This is, I think, not that clear. We don't know exactly why this is done. At least I don't know. You tell me in the comments, please do. It does make sense, actually. It does make sense because in Japan, you have a huge respect for the other person. Otherwise, yourself would be penalized somehow. So everyone follows, well, at least most of them follow the rules in order to have a good life altogether. It's fantastic. I mean, when I was there, I saw this. And it's not only in these terms of rudeness, politeness. I mean, they really like to respect the neighbor, the people you meet in the subway, on the street. So there is that culture, actually. So it does make sense. They want to have some kind of mastering a little more softened in the lower register. Okay, so what are we going to do today? We're going to try to understand if this is a myth, if this is reality. How? Well, we're going to analyze one of the best jazz fusion albums humankind has ever done. What am I talking about? Ooh Mama, Ooh Baby, Headhunters by Herbie Hancock. If you don't know this record, turn off this video immediately and go and get a copy. But besides that, when you're done listening, come back and watch the rest of the video. Yes, so what are we going to do? We're going to try to compare the Analog Productions 33 RPM version, recently released like a year and a half ago, very good edition, with the original Sony edition, Sony Japan, obviously, of 1973. I know, obviously, we're going to compare these two editions. This is the Analog Productions is not from 1973, but I don't care that much. I mean, yeah, maybe it would have been better, but I want to compare an audiophile grade type of edition, not the normal edition, an audiophile type, with another audiophile type, because Japanese have that in mind. They want to create their own audiophile type. And I think that it does make a lot of sense to combine these. Plus, this is something that doesn't cost too much. The original type instead does. It's very expensive. And this as well has a decent price, at least for you lucky guys in the US. For us in Europe, not so much, but that's another story. Okay, so let's start off. Now, we're gonna try to listen to the first track, Chameleon, of these two editions, okay? Now, I'm not gonna tell you which is which. We're just gonna hear track 1, and then we're gonna hear track 2. Try to understand the differences, okay? Obviously, you're gonna find the files high resolution, 90K sampling rate, 24 bits in download here in the video description, okay? So you can download them and listen them to on your system if you want, or with good headphones, quality headphones, maybe with a DAC headphone amplifier, you choose. In any case, I'm just gonna name them track 1 and track 2 of Headhunters, okay? Only after I will tell you which is which. Okay, now we're gonna listen track 1 and right after track 2. Let's go. Okay, guys, have you listened to 2 tracks? Have you made up your idea which could be which? Okay, so pause your video if you don't want to know the results, which is which. I'm going. Okay, track 1 was the Japanese version. Yes. Obviously, track 2 was the analog production Western version. Now, let's take a look also at the 2 sound waves here, okay? Now, as you can see, I listened as well to the tracks, and afterwards I looked at the sound waves. Now, I've normalized everything, obviously. I'm using my new interface. I should have said this in the beginning. I have a new audio interface from Black Lion, the Revolution. Seems good. I'm testing it out. In any case, it's a high fidelity, high quality piece of equipment. I obviously ripped everything from my turntable with my Dynavector through my PS Audio Stellar phono preamp into the audio interface, and then I recorded everything on Audacity, and I did not touch anything. I just normalized, put everything together, and I normalized. Obviously, then I also measured the loudness, perceived loudness with the Ulan meter, okay? So things have done correctly, and you should have 2 tracks with the same loudness. Obviously, the differences are what we're interested in. Okay, now, so let's compare now these 2 sound waves. As you can see, we have a difference in the higher frequencies in the analog production version. Now, I don't know if you noticed, especially if you use headphones or nice and loud on your system, we have something that a lot of people acknowledged to the Japanese pressings and that we sometimes lack. What am I talking about? Surface noise. Oh yes. The analog production version, which should be one of the top of all types of editions around the world, does have a certain amount of surface noise. And I'm afraid that that noise you see, those frequencies around 40 kilohertz are that noise there, mixed obviously also in the other frequencies. While instead, if you look at the Japanese version, we have a nice clean curve that rolls off after 20 kilohertz, probably due to the microphone adopted at CBS at the original session. So, obviously, I must admit here, we have to recognize that it is true, one of the main statements of Japanese pressings, they are dead silent. Oh baby, yes they do. This copy, I mean, there are 2 clicks, but that's just part of the record. It is of 50 years old, so as you can imagine, there are going to be some issues. But apart from those pop and clicks, if you hear the silence before the track, and even during the track itself, the surface noise is very, very low. While instead, the analog production versions, it's very present. And I must admit that other analog productions versions of other records are a little more silent. In this case, I think it's really clear. Okay, let's now instead focus on the main topic here, the bass, the lower register, the low notes. Are there differences? If you take a look at the sound wave, you're not going to understand that. Obviously, we have very similar sound wave. But if you listen, oh boy, I hear a lot of difference. Well, it's not a huge difference, but there is a clear distinction where the Japanese pressing is a little more soft, is a little less booming, at least in my opinion. I think it's clear, but you guys tell me right in your comments, please, what is your opinion on this? I do sense a clear distinction where the analog productions, everything is a little more nice and present and fat. There's a nice bass note. The Japanese version does not have that. Although I must admit that I also, in certain parts, even though this track isn't so elaborated, so difficult and variegated, no, it's a very simple type of notes and rhythm. In any case, you do sense some differences, especially at the last part where there's also other instruments. I do sense slightly more finesse in the Japanese version. Now, obviously, we're talking about a 50-year-old master tape. So there are also differences from that point of view, obviously. So no surprise that we do have a little more finesse in the original pressing of 1973. In this case, an original edition not from Japan would have helped us. Well, maybe in the future, who knows? Okay, guys. Well, please leave your comments here below on your impressions and your suggestions in great hi-fi Japanese pressings. I'm very interested. If you think that this issue is present or maybe only in some editions, only in some pressings, you tell me. Thank you again for watching, and remember, music is born analog. Well, guys, if you're enjoying my videos and you're enjoying my channel,
please consider to subscribe by clicking the black and white logo here below. Also, don't forget to click the notification bell so you'll never miss an episode and you will become a true member of the analog community.